My brother and I are identical. Same face, same voice, same hands. Same scar above the left eyebrow from a bicycle accident in 1961. If you put us in the same room, our own mother couldn't tell us apart. She used to paint my left thumbnail red so she'd know which one she was feeding. On March 14, 2025, I used that face to walk into a lawyer's office in Roanoke, Virginia. I sat in my brother's chair. I shook hands with my brother's nephew. I picked up my brother's pen, and I signed my own name. Nobody noticed. Not the lawyer. Not the nephew. Not the notary who stamped the document and filed it with the court. They all looked at me and saw Harold Maddox, a 71-year-old man worth $84 million, signing his estate over to the nephew who'd been keeping him locked in a bedroom for 7 months. They didn't see Gerald Maddox, the twin, the one nobody had heard from in 15 years, the one who wasn't supposed to exist in this story at all. But I was there, in Harold's chair, with Harold's pen, and the signature on that document, the signature that was supposed to transfer $84 million to a man who'd been starving my brother, hiding his medication, and telling the world he had dementia. That signature said Gerald, one wrong name, 6 letters. And every crime Darren Maddox committed for 7 months became provable in a single frame of notary camera footage. Before we go any further, thank you for being here. If this story already has you, and I hope it does, because it gets worse before it gets better, take a second and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It truly helps this channel reach more people who need these stories. And a gentle reminder, while this story carries real emotions and real lessons, some names, details, and events have been fictionalized for narrative and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real individuals is coincidental. Stay with me, because the 6 letters on that document were just the beginning. What came next took down everyone in that room. My name is Gerald Maddox. I'm 71 years old, and I need to tell you about my brother before I tell you what I did for him. Harold and I were born on September 3, 1953, at Lewis Gale Medical Center in Salem, Virginia. I came first, 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Harold came 4 minutes later, 6 pounds, 9 ounces. Identical monozygotic twins, meaning we developed from a single fertilized egg that split in the first 14 days after conception. The result, 2 people with the same DNA, the same blood type, the same fingerprint patterns, though not identical fingerprints, which is a common misconception. Identical twins share approximately 99% of their genetic code, but environmental factors in the womb create subtle differences in fingerprint ridge patterns. However, these differences are so minor that standard fingerprint matching systems, including the Automated Fingerprint Identification System, or AFIS, used by law enforcement, can sometimes flag identical twins as potential matches. I mention this because the question everyone asks, how could nobody tell you apart, has a scientific answer. They couldn't tell us apart because, genetically, we are the same person expressed twice. Same face, same build, same voice, identical vocal cord length and sinus cavity structure produce the same vocal resonance. Same gait, same gesture patterns. Even our wives eventually would occasionally mix us up in photographs. We grew up in Salem, a small city in the Roanoke Valley of Southwest Virginia. Our father was a plumber. Our mother was a school secretary. We were inseparable until we were 19, when the thing that separates all identical twins eventually separated us. We became different people. Harold was the builder, disciplined, strategic, the twin who planned everything 3 steps ahead and executed with the patience of a man who understood that good things take time. He started a construction company in 1982, Maddox Brothers Construction, which he named optimistically, hoping I'd join. I didn't. He built it alone, starting with residential renovations and growing over 4 decades into a commercial contracting firm with 45 employees, $2 million in annual revenue, and a project portfolio that included schools, medical offices, and municipal buildings across the Roanoke Valley. By 2024, Harold's net worth was $84 million. The construction company accounted for $501 million. His home in Roanoke, a 5-bedroom colonial on a 2-acre lot in the Cave Spring neighborhood, was worth the $780,000. His investment accounts held $2 million, managed through a brokerage at Wells Fargo Advisors. His life insurance policy, a $100 million whole life policy through Northwestern Mutual, had a cash surrender value of $320,000. Harold was the success, I was the other thing. I was the wanderer. The twin who couldn't sit still, couldn't follow a plan, couldn't resist the next opportunity even when the current one was working. I started 4 businesses between 1978 and 1995, a landscaping company, a used car lot, a bar in downtown Roanoke, and a vending machine route that covered 3 counties. Each one made money. Each one failed not because the business was bad, but because I was bad at consistency. I'd get bored. I'd get restless. I'd sell too early or invest too late or trust the wrong partner. By 2000 I was broke. Not figuratively, literally broke. The $14,000 in debt, living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Vinton, working as a route driver for a bread company. I was 47 years old and I had nothing except a face that looked exactly like a millionaire's. Harold offered to help. Multiple times he offered me money. He offered me a job at Maddox Brothers Construction. He offered me a room in his house. I said no to all of it. Not because I was proud, though I was, but because accepting Harold's help meant accepting that Harold was right and I was wrong. And the particular stubbornness of a man who's failed at everything is that he'd rather be wrong alone than right because someone saved him. We stopped speaking in 2010. The reason was stupid. An argument about our mother's care. Mom had Alzheimer's. She was in a memory care facility in Salem that cost $600 a month. Harold was paying for it. He'd been paying for it for 2 years without asking me to contribute, because he knew I couldn't contribute. But at Thanksgiving 2010, he mentioned it. Not as an accusation, just as a fact, and something in me snapped. The shame of not being able to care for my own mother, combined with the shame of my brother doing it effortlessly, produced a rage that I directed at the only target available, Harold. I said things I can't repeat. Harold said nothing. He just looked at me with the expression that identical twins develop for each other. The expression that says, I know exactly what you're feeling because I would feel it too, and I'm sorry I left. I didn't come back. 15 years. No calls, no visits, no Christmas cards. Our mother died in 2014, and I went to the funeral but stood at the back and left before the reception. Harold saw me. I saw him see me. Neither of us moved toward the other. 15 years of silence between 2 men who share the same face. That's what pride does. It takes the people who are closest to you and builds a wall between them that gets higher every year. You don't tear it down. Harold's wife, Carolyn, died in 2022. Breast cancer. I heard about it from a cousin. Not from Harold, because Harold and I didn't talk. I sent a card. No return address. I don't know if he read it. After Carolyn died, Harold was alone. His 2 children, my niece, Sandra, 42, and my nephew through Carolyn's first marriage, Darren, 38, were both in the area. Sandra lived in Blacksburg, about 40 minutes away. She was a professor at Virginia Tech, mechanical engineering, tenured, the kind of career that makes a father proud and keeps a daughter busy. She visited Harold on weekends when she could. Darren lived in Roanoke, 10 minutes from Harold's house. And after Carolyn's death, Darren appointed himself Harold's caretaker. Now, I need to explain something about Darren, and I need to be precise because precision matters in what comes next. Darren Maddox was not Harold's biological son. He was Carolyn's son from her first marriage, a marriage that ended in 1990 when Darren's biological father left and never came back. Harold adopted Darren when he married Carolyn in 1992. Darren was 6. Harold raised him, paid for his education, gave him a job at Maddox Brothers Construction, and treated him as his own. Darren repaid this by becoming the kind of man who measures love in dollars. He worked at Maddox Brothers for 8 years, 2008 to 2016. He was a project manager earning $72,000 a year. He was fired in 2016 for falsifying timesheets, billing the company for 30 hours of subcontractor labor that never happened. Harold discovered the fraud during a routine audit. The amount was $4,200. Harold didn't press charges. He fired Darren quietly, paid him 2 months as severance, and told Carolyn that Darren had decided to pursue other opportunities. Harold protected his wife from the truth about her son. That's what good men do. It's also what gets good men destroyed. After being fired, Darren bounced between jobs, sales, property management, a brief stint as a real estate agent that produced 1 closed deal in 9 months. By 2022, when Carolyn died, Darren was 38, earning $41,000 a year as an assistant property manager for an apartment complex in Roanoke, and carrying a 52,000 in debt, credit cards, a car loan, and a personal loan from a credit union at 5% APR, he was broke. Harold was worth $4 million. And Carolyn, the only person who might have seen what was coming, was gone. Darren moved into Harold's house in September 2023. He told Sandra it was temporary, just until Dad gets on his feet. He told Harold it was to help with the house. "You shouldn't be alone, Dad." He told both of them what they wanted to hear, which is the defining skill of a person who takes from people who trust him. Within 3 months, Darren had isolated Harold completely. The process is called elder isolation, and it follows a pattern so consistent that the National Center on Elder Abuse has published a behavioral checklist for identifying it. The isolator, typically a family member or caretaker, systematically removes the elder's connections to the outside world. Phone access is restricted. Visitors are discouraged or turned away. Mail is intercepted. Medical appointments are canceled or controlled. The elder becomes dependent on the isolator for information, communication, and basic needs. Darren followed the checklist like a manual. Step 1, he changed Harold's phone number. He told Harold that the old number was getting too many spam calls, and that a new number would be easier to manage. The new number was on a phone plan in Darren's name, meaning Darren could monitor every call, every text, every contact. Step 2, he began intercepting Harold's mail. He set up a redirect at the post office, a simple form, a forged signature, and all of Harold's mail now went to a P.O. box that only Darren could access. Bank statements, investment reports, tax notices, insurance renewals. Everything filtered through Darren first. Step 3, he discouraged visitors. When Sandra called to arrange a weekend visit, Darren would say Harold was having a bad day, or resting, or not feeling up to it. He created a narrative of decline, suggesting to Sandra gradually over months that Harold's cognitive function was deteriorating. "Dade's been confused lately. He forgot my name yesterday. I think we need to talk about his memory." Harold did not have dementia. Harold did not have cognitive decline. Harold was 71 years old, sharp, articulate, and fully capable of managing his own affairs. But Darren was building a story, a medical fiction designed to justify what he was planning. Step 4, the most dangerous step. Darren began controlling Harold's medication. Harold took 3 medications: lisinopril for blood pressure, metformin for type 2 diabetes, and atorvastatin for cholesterol. Standard medications for a 71-year-old man with managed chronic conditions. Darren took over the medication management, telling Harold he'd make sure you take them on time, and began subtly altering the dosages and timing. He wasn't poisoning Harold. He was destabilizing him. By administering the blood pressure medication at irregular intervals, Darren caused Harold to experience episodes of dizziness, confusion, and fatigue, symptoms that, to an outside observer, would look exactly like early-stage cognitive decline. Harold would have bad days, dizzy, disoriented, unable to focus, and Darren would document them. Notes in his phone, dates and times. A manufactured medical record designed to support a future claim that Harold lacked the capacity to manage his own affairs. This is a form of elder abuse called medical POA abuse, the misuse of a caretaker's access to an elder's medication to simulate cognitive or physical decline. The National Institute on Aging identifies medication manipulation as one of the most underreported forms of elder abuse, because the symptoms it produces are indistinguishable from natural aging. Darren's endgame was the estate, all $4 million of it, and his plan was a 3-step legal sequence that he'd been researching for months. Step 1, establish Harold's cognitive decline through documented episodes and a sympathetic physician's assessment. Step 2, obtain a durable power of attorney, a legal document governed by the Uniform Power of Attorney Act as adopted by Virginia, that would give Darren the authority to manage Harold's financial and legal affairs. Step 3, use the power of attorney to transfer Harold's assets, the company, the house, the investments, the insurance, into Darren's name. Then petition the court for a conservatorship, arguing that Harold's cognitive decline made him unable to manage his own affairs, and install himself as the permanent legal guardian of a man he'd manufactured into incompetence. It was a perfect plan. Patient, systematic, built on real legal mechanisms that are designed to protect vulnerable people and are, every year, weaponized against them by the very people they trust. It would have worked. Except for a housekeeper named Rosa Delgado. Rosa was 54 years old. She'd been cleaning Harold's house every Thursday for 11 years. She was one of the few people Darren couldn't completely eliminate from Harold's life, because firing the housekeeper would have raised questions that Darren wasn't ready to answer. But Darren controlled Rosa's access. She was allowed in from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Thursdays. She cleaned the downstairs rooms. She was told that Harold was resting upstairs and shouldn't be disturbed. For 4 months, Rosa cleaned a house while a man was being held in a bedroom above her. On the Thursday that changed everything, January 16, 2025, Rosa went upstairs. Not because she was suspicious, because she needed cleaning supplies from the hallway closet on the second floor. The closet was next to the master bedroom. The bedroom door was closed, and from behind it, Rosa heard something she hadn't heard in months, Harold's voice. Not the confused, disoriented voice that Darren described. A clear voice, a desperate voice. "Hello, is someone there? Please, I need help." Rosa opened the door. Harold was sitting on the edge of the bed. He was thinner than she remembered. He'd lost weight, at least 20 pounds. His hair was uncombed. His clothes were wrinkled. The room smelled of confinement, the stale air of a space that hadn't been properly ventilated in weeks. "Rosa, Mr. Harold. What happened to you?" "Darren happened to me." "Rosa, listen to me carefully. I am not confused. I am not sick. Darren has been keeping me in this room. He controls my phone. He controls my medication. He's trying to get me to sign papers. I need you to call someone." "Ooh, the police." "No, not yet. The police will come and Darren will show them his documentation, the medication notes, the physician's report. He'll say I'm confused. They might believe him. I need you to call my brother." "Your brother? I didn't know you had a brother. His name is Gerald. We haven't spoken in 15 years. But Gerald is the only person on earth who can do what needs to be done. Because Gerald has my face." Rosa didn't understand. Not yet. But she could see the desperation in Harold's eyes, the look of a man who has been trapped so long that hope itself feels dangerous. She took down my phone number. She left the house. She drove to a gas station on Route 419. And she called me. The phone rang at 20:47 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. I was in my apartment in Vinton, the same one-bedroom apartment I'd been living in for 12 years. I was watching television. I was not expecting a call from a woman I'd never met telling me that my brother was being held captive in his own house by his own son. "Mr. Gerald, my name is Rosa. I clean your brother's house. He's in trouble. Bad trouble. He told me to call you. He said you'd know what to do because you have his face. Because you have his face." Harold, even after 15 years of silence, even after everything that had broken between us, still knew me. Still knew that the face we shared was more than genetics. It was a tool. And he was asking me to use it. I drove to Roanoke that night. Not to Harold's house. Darren would have recognized me, or wouldn't have, and either outcome would have been a disaster. I went to Rosa's apartment. She told me everything she'd seen. Harold's condition, the locked bedroom, Darren's control of the phone and mail, the weight loss, the medication. He said Darren wants him to sign papers. Rosa said. He said there's a meeting with a lawyer scheduled for March 14th. Some kind of big signing. Darren's been talking about it for weeks, telling Harold that it's just paperwork and estate planning, and nothing to worry about. Estate planning, the same phrase used in script 14 and script 15, the same lie, the same weapon, different hands. I spent the next 8 weeks preparing. Not impulsively, strategically. For the first time in my life, I planned something 3 steps ahead. Harold's discipline. Harold's patience. The twin I'd spent 50 years resenting for being better than me, I finally became him. Week 1 I contacted Sandra, Harold's daughter, my niece. She didn't know about the isolation. Darren's narrative of cognitive decline had kept her at a distance. When I told her what Rosa had seen, Sandra's response was immediate and furious. "I've been calling every week. Darren always says Dad's not up for talking. I offered to drive down 3 times last month. Darren said Dad was confused and a visit would overstimulate him. I believed him. I believed my own brother. Stepbrother. He's my brother, Uncle Gerald. That's what makes this worse. Week 2, Sandra and I contacted Adult Protective Services, the Virginia Department of Social Services division responsible for investigating reports of elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation under VA Code Section 63-2-1605. We filed a report. APS assigned an investigator, a woman named Denise Harmon, who specialized in financial exploitation cases. Denise warned us, an APS investigation takes time, weeks, sometimes months. If Darren has a signing scheduled for March 14th, we may not have a completed investigation by then. Then we need another plan, I said. What kind of plan? The kind where I walk into that signing as Harold. Week 3, I began studying Harold. Not his face, I already had his face. His mannerisms, his speech patterns, the way he held a pen, the way he crossed his legs, the way he said, well, before starting a sentence, drawing the word out like he was giving himself time to think. I hadn't seen Harold in 15 years, but identical twins share more than genetics. We share muscle memory. We share instincts. When I sat in a chair and crossed my legs, I crossed them the same way Harold did, left over right, ankle on knee, because our bodies are built the same way and our brains pattern movement identically. Rosa became my intelligence source. Every Thursday she went to Harold's house. She cleaned. And on her way out, she stopped at the gas station on 4019 and called me with updates. Harold's condition, Darren's schedule, the details of the March 14th signing. By week 6, I knew everything. The signing was at the law office of Mitchell Price, an estate attorney in downtown Roanoke whose office was on Campbell Avenue. A notary would be present. Darren would bring Harold. Harold would sign a durable power of attorney, granting Darren full authority over his financial and legal affairs, followed by a deed of gift transferring the house on Cave Spring, followed by beneficiary change forms for the investment accounts and life insurance policy. The total value being transferred $84 million. The total time required 45 minutes. The total cost to Darren, a few months of patient manipulation and a $3,500 attorney's fee. Week 7, Sandra obtained a copy of Harold's ID from the Virginia DMV. As Harold's daughter and an emergency contact on his medical records, she was able to request a duplicate through the DMV's family assistance process. She also obtained Harold's signature from old construction contracts filed with the city of Roanoke, public records, freely available. I practiced the signature. Not to forge it, to avoid forging it. My plan wasn't to pretend to be Harold. My plan was to be Harold in every way except one, the name on the paper. I would walk in as Harold. I would sit as Harold. I would speak as Harold. And when they put the document in front of me, I would sign Gerald and Harold in my own handwriting. A signature that was visually identical to Harold's, because identical twins develop nearly identical handwriting patterns. A phenomenon documented in forensic graphology, studies published in the Journal of Forensic Sciences. The difference would be invisible in the room. But it would be catastrophic on paper. A document signed by Gerald Maddox has no legal authority over Harold Maddox's estate. The power of attorney would be void. The deed of gift would be void. The beneficiary changes would be void. Everything Darren had spent 7 months building would collapse because of 6 letters. Week 8, I confirmed the plan with Denise Harmon at APS. She couldn't officially sanction it. APS doesn't authorize identity operations. But she told me, carefully, that any evidence of fraud or coercion obtained during the signing would be admissible in a subsequent investigation. She also confirmed that Virginia requires notaries who handle real estate transactions to maintain a recording device in their office, under the Virginia Notary Act, Title 47. 1, meaning the signing would be on camera. On camera. My face. Gerald's signature, on the same frame. The evidence wouldn't need explanation. It would need a pause button. March 14, 2025, and Harzard AM, the law office of Mitchell Price. Campbell Avenue, downtown Roanoke. I arrived at 90. I was wearing Harold's clothes. Sandra had brought me a set from Harold's closet during one of Rosa's Thursday visits. Blue dress shirt, khaki pants, brown leather shoes. Harold's watch, a Seiko presage that Carolyn had given him for their 20th anniversary. Every detail matched because every detail mattered. Darren was already in the lobby. He saw me walk in and smiled, the particular smile of a man who believes he's about to win. He didn't hug me. He didn't ask how I was feeling. He said, "You ready, Dad? This won't take long." Well, I said, drawing the word out the way Harold does. Let's get it done. Mitchell Price's office was on the 3rd floor. Corner office, windows overlooking Campbell Avenue. A conference table with 4 chairs. A notary, a woman named Beth Kessler, sat at the end of the table with a stamp, a journal, and a small camera mounted on a tripod. The camera. There it was. The notary camera required by Virginia Title 47-1. The camera that would record every second of what was about to happen. Mitchell Price laid out the documents. 3 sets. The durable power of attorney. The deed of gift for the house. The beneficiary change forms for the investment accounts and life insurance. Mr. Maddox, these documents have been prepared according to your instructions. I'll walk you through each one before you sign. My instructions. Harold's instructions. Instructions that Harold had never given, that Darren had given, pretending to relay Harold's wishes. Mitchell Price had never met Harold in person before this meeting. He'd communicated through Darren. He'd received instructions through Darren. He'd prepared $4 million in asset transfers based on the word of a man who was committing elder abuse. I want to pause here and explain something about the legal system. Under the Uniform Power of Attorney Act, an attorney preparing a power of attorney document has a duty to verify the principal's identity and capacity. This means meeting the principal in person, confirming their understanding of the document, and ensuring they are acting voluntarily. Mitchell Price had done none of this. He'd taken Darren's word. He'd prepared the documents remotely, and now he was meeting Harold Maddox for the first time and seeing my face, which was Harold's face, and accepting it without question. This is how elder exploitation succeeds. Not through force, through process. Through the assumption that the person sitting in the chair is who they claim to be. That the family member organizing the signing has good intentions. That the system works because people follow it honestly. Darren exploited the system's trust. I exploited its blind spot. Mitchell walked me through each document. I listened the way Harold would listen, carefully, patiently, asking one clarifying question about the deed of gift that Harold, the construction executive, would naturally ask. I performed my brother. I was my brother. For 20 minutes, Harold Maddox sat in that chair. Then they handed me the pen. I picked it up. Blue ink. Standard ballpoint. The kind of pen that sits in a cup on every lawyer's desk in America. I looked at the first document, the durable power of attorney, and I found the signature line, and I signed it Gerald R. Not Harold. Gerald. My name. My signature. In my own handwriting, which, to anyone watching, looked exactly like Harold's handwriting because identical twins produce nearly identical letter formations due to shared neuromotor patterns. I signed the second document. Gerald Armadiox. The third document. Gerald Armadiox. 3 signatures. 3 documents. 3 times I wrote a name that made every page legally worthless. Beth Kessler notarized each one. She checked my Harold's ID. She stamped her seal. She entered the transaction in her journal. And the camera on the tripod recorded all of it. Darren shook my hand afterward. Thanks, Dad. I told you it wouldn't take long. I said, certainly didn't. I left the office. I walked to the parking garage on Church Avenue. I got in Sandra's car. She was waiting on the 2nd level. I closed the door. It's done, I said. You signed 3 documents. All 3. Gerald R. Maddox. They didn't notice. Nobody notices what they're not looking for. Sandra drove me to the Roanoke City Police Department. We walked in together and asked for the detective division. We were directed to Detective Paul Raines, a financial crimes investigator who had been briefed by Denise Harmon at APS. I told Detective Raines everything. The 7 months of isolation, Rose's discovery, the medication manipulation, the manufactured cognitive decline, the signing, and the 3 documents sitting in Mitchell Price's office with the wrong name on every signature line. You impersonated your brother, Detective Raines said. I used my own face to enter a legal proceeding under false pretenses, to expose a legal proceeding that was entirely false. Those documents were prepared based on fraudulent instructions from Darren Maddox. Harold never authorized them. Harold never met Mitchell Price. Harold has been locked in a bedroom for 7 months. I signed my own name specifically so the documents would be void. I didn't forge anything. I didn't steal anything. I sat in a chair and wrote my own name. Detective Raines looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "I need to make some calls." The investigation moved fast after that. Detective Raines obtained the notary camera footage from Beth Kessler, who, to her credit, was horrified when she learned what had happened. The footage showed me sitting in the chair, signing documents, while Darren stood behind me smiling. A forensic document examiner, certified by the American Board of Forensic Document Examiners, compared the signatures on the 3 documents to known samples of both Harold's and Gerald's handwriting. The conclusion: the signatures were consistent with Gerald Maddox, not Harold Maddox. The forensic handwriting analysis focused on 3 distinguishing features that differentiate identical twins: handwriting despite their visual similarity, pen pressure patterns, letter spacing ratios, and the specific formation of the capital G and capital H, which in Gerald's writing showed a distinctive left, leaning entry stroke that Harold's did not. Simultaneously, APS completed their investigation. Denise Harmon visited Harold's house with a Roanoke police escort. They found Harold in the master bedroom. He had lost 24 pounds. His blood pressure was unstable, consistent with irregular administration of lisinopril. His blood sugar was elevated, consistent with inconsistent metformin dosing. He was alert, oriented, and cognitively intact. A capacity assessment conducted by a geriatric psychiatrist from Carilion Clinic confirmed that Harold had no cognitive impairment, no dementia markers, and full decision-making capacity. Harold was not sick. Harold had never been sick. Darren had manufactured the appearance of decline through 7 months of medication manipulation and social isolation. Harold was removed from the house and taken to Sandra's home in Blacksburg. A medical team stabilized his blood pressure and blood sugar over the following week. He gained 6 pounds in the first month. He began walking the Virginia Tech campus with Sandra in the evenings, 2 miles a day, rebuilding the strength that 7 months of confinement had stolen. Darren was arrested on April 2, 2025. The charges: elder abuse, elder financial exploitation, unlawful imprisonment, identity fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Mitchell Price was separately charged with failure to verify principal identity and negligent preparation of legal documents, charges that would trigger a disciplinary investigation by the Virginia State Bar. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution's central exhibit was the notary camera footage, a 23-minute recording that showed me entering the room as Harold, sitting in Harold's chair, signing Harold's documents with Gerald's name. The footage was played twice, once at normal speed, once in slow motion, with the forensic document examiner narrating the signature analysis. The signatory writes Gerald R. Maddox. The G shows a left, leaning entry stroke that is absent from all known Harold Maddox signatures. The R shows a closed loop that Harold consistently leaves open. The capital M shows a baseline variation of 2.3 millimeters from Harold's norm. This signature was written by Gerald Maddox. The documents are signed by the wrong twin. The wrong twin. A phrase that would become the shorthand for the case, in the prosecutor's closing argument, in the media coverage, in the conversations that would circulate through Roanoke's legal community for years. Darren's defense attorney argued that Darren had acted out of genuine concern for Harold's well-being, that the isolation was protective, the medication management was caregiving, and the asset transfer was estate planning. The defense called it a family disagreement about care. The prosecutor called it what it was. This is not a family disagreement. This is a 7-month criminal operation designed to steal $4 million from a 71-year-old man by manufacturing the appearance of cognitive decline, isolating him from his family, controlling his medication, and orchestrating a fraudulent legal signing. The defendant's own nephew, a man who trusted him, raised him, and gave him every opportunity, was locked in a bedroom and starved while the defendant prepared to take everything he'd built. Darren was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 6 years in the Virginia Department of Corrections, 3 years for unlawful imprisonment, 2 years for elder financial exploitation, 1 year for identity fraud, to be served consecutively. He was also ordered to pay $125,000 in restitution and permanently barred from contact with Harold. Mitchell Price surrendered his law license before the Virginia State Bar could revoke it. His malpractice insurer settled Harold's civil claim for $340,000, covering medical expenses, legal fees, and damages for emotional distress. Beth Kessler, the notary, was not charged. She had followed standard notary procedures. The failure was in the identity verification, which relied on a photo ID that matched my face because my face is Harold's face. The Virginia Notary Division issued new guidance after the case, recommending that notaries handling estate documents verify identity through secondary documentation, utility bills, bank statements, or biometric confirmation, in addition to photo ID. After the trial, Harold and I sat on Sandra's back porch in Blacksburg. The Blue Ridge Mountains were visible in the distance, that particular Virginia blue that gives the mountains their name, the color of distance and time and things that endure. We hadn't been alone together in 15 years. We'd aged in parallel, the same wrinkles, the same gray at the temples, the same slight stoop in the shoulders that comes from being 71 and having carried things for a long time. Looking at Harold was like looking in a mirror. It always had been. You used my face, Harold said. It's my face too. You sat in my chair and signed your name and destroyed everything Darren built. Everything Darren built was built on top of you. I just removed the foundation. Why? After 15 years. After everything I said. After everything you said. Why did you come back? I thought about it. The honest answer was complicated, a mixture of guilt and love, and the particular debt that identical twins carry, which is the debt of being half of something. You can walk away from a brother. You can stop calling. You can let 15 years pass in silence. But you can't stop being a twin. The face in the mirror is always both of you. Because Rosa called me and said you were in trouble. And because the last time someone used my face against me was Mom, when she painted my thumbnail red. Nobody uses our face for harm. Not even Darren. Harold was quiet for a while. Then he said, I named the company Maddox Brothers. I know. I never changed it. 43 years. I could have changed it to Maddox Construction. I never did. I know, Harold. Come work with me. It's not too late. The name's already on the building. I'm 71 years old. I've failed at everything I've ever tried. 4 businesses. 0 successes. A lifetime of restlessness and pride and the particular American delusion that independence is the same thing as strength. But I have my brother's face, and my brother's company has my name on it. And for the first time in 50 years, both of those things feel like they belong to me. I start on Monday. If this story touched you, leave a comment. Tell me what you think about the bond between twins, whether it's something science can explain or something deeper. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about family, truth, and the faces we share. Before we close, this story, like all stories on this channel, contains fictional elements crafted for entertainment and educational purposes. If this type of content isn't for you, that's completely okay. Take care of yourselves. But if you stayed until the end, thank you. Harold would say, well, and then pause before telling you he appreciated it. So I'll say it for both of us. Well, we appreciate it.